Hey everybody, William Wallace here, William Wallace for America, and today I'm at the Right to Life Federation office, and we're going to do a little video here telling people about the Right to Life Federation. As you know, I'm very interested in the community and finding solutions to help our communities and help our state and help our country, and I've always felt like the Right to Life Federation is doing the right thing for our communities, and so I brought on today Benjamin Clapper with the Right to Life Federation, and we're going to talk with him and spend a little time with him about what they do and about the Federation. So tune in, please, here. So Benjamin, thank you for coming on there. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, William. Great to be here with you.
Well, exactly what does the Right to Life Foundation do? I'm going to ask that because even though I know, you know what it does, I want more people to be involved and know about things in our community that they can be involved with if they like to.
Sure, absolutely. You know, Louisiana Right to Life was founded in 1970, which was 3 years before Roe v. Wade legalized abortion in America and in Louisiana. You know.
So this isn't a result of Roe v. Wade. This is y'all already started this before.
Yeah, well, you know, other states began to legalize abortion in the late 60s and the early 70s, just a handful, and really for more reasons of early in pregnancy or because of rape and incest or other things. And then it was the Supreme Court in 1973 that changed the landscape forever by legalizing abortion in all 50 states in all 9 months of pregnancy and for virtually any reason or no reason at all.
Right.
But our founder and some of the first board of directors really saw what was happening in the other states. They saw the concern in the court system, and then they allied together with other states around the country to become active, to found Louisiana Right to Life with the mission of educating, activating, and legislating to restore the right to life in Louisiana, with the singular focus of abortion, euthanasia, and infanticide being our focus issues to make sure that we could keep at that time they were trying to keep it from becoming legal, and now for the past, you know, nearly 50 years, we've been working, and this has been 50 years as an organization for us, just here in 2020. So we've been working that whole time since 1973 to restore the right to life, right? That fundamental, phone's on. That fundamental right to life.
So where before you used to be a lot of different chapters around the state with one common goal, now you're one federation with one common goal to be able to help restore that right to life.
Yeah, we've existed since 1970. We have chapters across the state, local volunteers, local efforts, doing work to serve women, to help babies, provide material support. You know, that's what our pregnancy centers do across the state. You know, there are about 35 pregnancy centers in Louisiana that are actively every day helping moms and babies and serving them with their needs. So that's part of what the pro-life movement is doing. We don't run those. We do more of the educational, legislation, policy, activism, and then also do some things to advertise to reach women considering abortion and help them to choose life for them, their child. And that's what it's about. You know, the knowledge that every child, I like this. Every child deserves a chance, right? And you know, life offers no guarantees, but abortion offers no chances.
So what I'm hearing is that you're not just a group that wants to end abortion, or you're a group that actually is like a stepping stone in some ways for women to have other choices that they can make, and as a tool or a place where women can go to get the help they need if they feel in their hearts that they want to choose life over another option.
You know, we see it as both making abortion illegal and unthinkable, right? So it's got to be from the top down through policy and through government, which we work with, but also from the bottom up, right? We understand that we have to meet the needs of women in our society, and that's what the pro-life movement probably does the most of its time and energy through pregnancy centers on the local ground, is to meet the needs of those women where they're at. Now, we as an organization don't have women coming through to us, but we work with those pregnancy centers to provide those resources and support. So we're absolutely about ending abortion, right? We believe it's the greatest injustice in our history in the last 100 years as a nation. And we want to bring an end to that. But we also want to do the education and the service to make sure that women feel they don't have to choose abortion. You know.
So it's a way, like I said, being a resource for women who feel in their hearts that there's another option instead of something.
The data shows that most women choose abortion because they feel that in their life and they don't have the needs met, or the support system in their life to choose life.
Gotcha.
Often they feel coerced many times by their situation or even by the man in the situation to choose abortion. And we want to make sure that that woman is provided and is aware of the resources out there, including great resources like adoption, right? I mean, we believe that if we can promote adoption more, and if people see the beauty of adoption, then that's a great antidote to abortion in our society. You know,
I was asking you what your mission was, but you kind of already said the mission. What the mission statement is?
Yeah, well, the mission statement would be, crystallize it, is to restore the right to life in Louisiana through education, activism, service, and legislation.
I like that. It seems you don't hear much about the Right to Life Foundation until there's an issue.
Right.
It's kind of like you are kind of in the back behind the scenes, group. When you don't hear, but all of a sudden you hear something about a Right to Life issue, and then all of a sudden you hear more about the Right to Life Federation. What do you guys do behind the scenes, or kind of while there's not anything going on? You guys are pretty active.
Absolutely. Most people see and hear of us when there's a big issue, legislation, elections, or something like that. Whether it was Planned Parenthood selling the bodies of babies, a few years ago, that, we just had a Supreme Court case, that was the Louisiana law that went to the Supreme Court. So that got a lot of attention. But every day our mission is to educate and activate the citizens of Louisiana to choose life. We've seen since the 1980s a huge decrease in abortion in our state. And we believe because we've done that education day in and day out with young people, with adults, in various communities across the state, to, of course, educate them that abortion is an injustice and needs to end, and also to show them that there are services and support out there to help mothers choose life.
Well, what can people do to get involved with the Right to Life Federation? Is there something that they can, are there fundraisers?
Sure.
Are there what else types of events?
We need people to be involved all over the state. It's my belief that every person in this state, every person in this country has a role in the pro-life movement. It's finding what that role is for that person. We have people that are volunteering and stuffing bags at pregnancy centers for mothers who need, diapers and formula and different things like that. We have people that are praying outside of abortion facilities, offering that last chance opportunity to a woman who's going into the abortion facility. We have people working to promote adoption, in the state. We have people in schools that are educating young people about abortion. We have people that are raising the awareness about abortion in the community. And then we also have fundraisers that help and support our organization. Here in New Orleans, we have our gala in January. We have in Baton Rouge our Bow Ties for Babies fundraiser. Lafayette, Shreveport, the North Shore, we have a fundraiser. So, we have many different opportunities for people to plug in with us across the state. Our website, prolifelouisiana.org, and then all of our social media provides that information as well about ways that people can engage. But,
what I'll do when I post this video, what I'll do is I'll put, for people who's watching, I'll put down below, and you'll be able to see down below some of the social media connections that you can make with the Right to Life Federation to be able to connect and be involved.
Absolutely. There's so many ways for people to take a stand and be involved. In your church, for example, for those who are active in a church, we need churches to talk about the right to life. We need churches to activate their people to be involved, to show support. We have great church ministries that when a woman in their church maybe finds themselves in an unplanned pregnancy, the church will come around that woman, provide her resources and support that she needs, both before and after birth, to choose life and to provide a good future for their child. There's so many ways that we can all be involved to save lives, to bring an end to abortion. We believe in Louisiana, we have a great state, right?
Right, I love this state.
And we want every person to experience what each of us have experienced. And like I said at the beginning, life's not always perfect, right? Everyone's going to have challenges. And but abortion ends that opportunity before that person even gets there. We often say that the children that are aborted every day in Louisiana, about 22 abortions every day in Louisiana, 8,144 happened in 2019. We often say, what would these children have been for our society?
Right. You think of Steve Jobs. He was a baby that was about to be aborted, and look at what he did. But what I'm hearing from you on this, and what I've learned about the organization through the years being involved, is that this is not just an organization that is trying to end abortion. This is an organization that actually works to educate and be a support system for women. I know you kind of said that, but there's when you talk about the church and you talk about women packaging up packets of information for women. It sounds like there's a lot of learning that comes out of this organization, a lot of education that comes out of this organization too. So it's not just beating the drum to end abortion. It's beating that drum of education to inform people. I mean, what could be better than having teaching people to make better decisions? I know that we don't want to push morality. Some people don't want to push morality, but the reality is when you're teaching the things that come along that you've learned from statistics, that it actually helps our community be educated on just life in general.
Well, we push morality all the time as a society, right? Why is murder wrong in our society?
Right.
Because we believe it's wrong, right? Well, to us, abortion is ending the life of an innocent person in the womb, right?
Right.
The person is living, the person is developing, the person has all the characteristics that you and I have, just needs time to mature and to grow. And abortion is a violent act. You're ending that child's life through an intentional effort that usually involves the dismembering of that child in the process. So we lose our future, we lose our hope. We're not just banging the drum, we're going out there. One of the most important things that we do is spend times in classrooms across the state and working with students and educating them about abortion, helping them to kind of cut through the bias that many people have. We feel like there's these rose-colored lens that people look at abortion with in society and say, I don't really like abortion, but it's not that, we don't think we shouldn't not have it.
It's the law of the land.
Yeah. So we need to cut through that, and we need to talk honestly and clearly about what abortion is, not the peripheral issues that surround it. We need to talk about those, but the moral nature of the question of abortion is about what is the unborn child, what does abortion do to that unborn child, and is that something we should tolerate as a nation?
And when you say the peripheral, it's one of the things that Right to Life Federation does, from what I hear, is that you all also, you don't just beat that drum of let's end abortion, you also handle those peripheral views of here's our other aspects about that happen here.
Absolutely. In May, we distributed about 30,000 diapers here on Robert E. Lee Boulevard in New Orleans out of our office. In the height of the pandemic and the shutdown and everything, we knew families were hurting, families with young children. So we were able to distribute 30,000 diapers, and we had so many supporters that gave money, gave diapers, gave formula that we were able to do. So look, we want to bring an end to abortion. No doubt about it, but we want to do everything that we can to support women before and after birth, to help them to be able to make that choice for themselves and their child.
A minute ago you mentioned legislation. Is there any legislation that you all are working on right now that to help?
We just came off a Supreme Court case 2 months ago. That decision was handed down. That was a really epic decision, and we lost that decision at the Supreme Court level, unfortunately, but there was some silver linings in that. Then we have a constitutional amendment on the ballot November 3rd, so just in 2 months we have that on the ballot. That's what we call the Love Life Amendment. That's going to ensure that there's no right to abortion in Louisiana's Constitution. But as for legislation, like in the spring of 2021, we haven't got that far yet. We have some things we're working on, thinking about, but nothing on paper yet that we're ready to talk about publicly. So still a work in progress. We got to pass this constitutional amendment, which is our number one priority as an organization right now.
And that's why I do these interviews, is because I want the public to know what's going on, but also now they can see the Right to Life Federation as someone who's trying to educate and then be aware of what you all are involved with. Are there any type of fundraisers or any type, like how is Right to Life Federation funded? Do you all have fundraisers? You kind of mentioned a few minutes ago, but maybe a little more detail about that.
We are founded through the support of Louisiana citizens. We don't get government funding, we don't get institutional church funding or anything like that. So we're just funded by the support of pro-life people who believe in this and want to make a sacrifice and provide their money to help us do it. So, our biggest fundraiser, especially for the New Orleans area, is our Proudly Pro-Life Gala that we hold in January. So we just this past January had that downtown. We honored Congressman Steve Scalise with our Proudly Pro-Life Award that we give out every year. So he was there, he spoke, and also Kirk Cameron, the adoption advocate and the actor, Growing Pains, was our speaker. So we had about 1,000 people at that event downtown at the Hyatt Regency. So it was a huge success. That is scheduled for Saturday, January 18th. Cross our fingers, all that stuff. I mean, putting 1,000 people in a ballroom doesn't actually sound like it might happen in January, but we're hoping and praying for the best. But
And if that doesn't happen, maybe there'll be something else that you can keep an eye on this.
But now our honoree and our speaker for that is former New Orleans Saints football player Benjamin Watson, tight end for the Saints, who played for a few years with the Saints and caught a bunch of touchdown passes from Drew Brees. So he is a huge pro-life advocate across this nation, and he did so much for the New Orleans community when he lived here as a Saint, and he still is active, a leader in the pro-life movement.
I think I remember him being involved in that.
Oh yeah, he's awesome, man. What a great example he is. So we're looking forward to bringing him back to New Orleans, to honoring him, and to having him speak. So again, that's on our website, prolifelouisiana.org/gala, and people can come and be involved in that event. I would say that seating is limited, especially we ran out of space last year. Right. Who knows, again, what's going to happen this year. But we still need your support for the gala, even if the event turns into a virtual event of some sort. But let's hope and pray that by January, we're going to be able to hold that. But
one of the things I've pointed out on my other podcasts and my other videos, and if you've watched this, and hopefully other people, this gives you some recollection for the people who do, is that I always talk about the legislature and how you can go online and actually watch the legislature online on video, live video. You can watch the committee hearings, and you can see what's going on in the room. And I'm bringing that up because I'm sure there's been plenty of times when you guys have been in those hearings. What color shirt do you wear when you go to the committee?
It depends on the topic and the issue. We've done blue before. We've done red before, which is often a color, but our logos are blue and orange. So, it really kind of depends on what the legislation is that we're dealing with. Like we did a number of years ago, the Hear the Heartbeat Act, and so we had red for the heartbeat.
Okay.
And we filled the Capitol with people standing for life. And then, we have that at the Capitol, but actually our largest event at the Capitol is every January, which is our Life March in downtown Baton Rouge.
Okay.
So in Washington, D.C., there's the annual March for Life, where we hold in 5 cities in the state life marches. And that is, I think this year, Saturday, January 23rd or 2021. So we usually have 3,000 to 5,000 to 6,000 people march, and then we have a rally on the Capitol steps.
For people who can't make it to D.C., they can go to Baton Rouge.
Well, Baton Rouge, and then we have it in Lake Charles, Shreveport, Monroe, and Alexandria as well, all over the state in various weekends in the January, because January 22nd is the anniversary of Roe v. Wade, and so it all centers around that. So we invite everyone to come out to our Life March events, and you can get all that information at LALifeMarch.com, the dates, times, where to meet. It's all free, of course, to attend those, and you don't need RSVP or anything like that. So I would say that's one of the best ways to, on the ground level, plug in with the pro-life cause is at the Life March events across the state.
One of the things I like to talk about too is statistics and numbers, and that's it can intrigue some people.
Sure.
What do you think? Do you have a number? It'd be hard to say an exact number, of course, or have an idea or a way to answer this question.
Sure.
That is, how many lives do you think the Right to Life Federation has saved in Louisiana?
Yeah, it's a great question, so I pull my phone out because I just want to read some of these numbers to you, but. Right now in Louisiana in 2019, there were 8,144 abortions, so 22 a day, as I talked about. Now, interestingly, in 1982, the all-time high of abortions in Louisiana was 19,794 a year. Now, it decreased consistently from that point. I mean, I would like to believe our education and the pro-life movement's service efforts caused and brought about that decrease of abortions in the state. And if you basically take that number, and if abortion had stayed the same every year, but then we subtract the lives that were saved each year, it comes out to just over 277,000 Louisianans that were not aborted because the number of abortions decreased since 1982.
Wow.
So we like to say that there are over 270,000 Louisianians alive today, or hopefully they're still alive. That were born and had a chance at life, that were not aborted, because the work of the pro-life movement brought down abortion. We've seen in other places and in other countries where the pro-life movement has not been there, has not spoken up, and really abortion has just become part of the framework, and this is a lot of European countries are like this. The abortion numbers skyrocket because nobody has qualms about the morality of abortion. No one talks about it. There's no light on the subject. So I believe that our shared efforts have helped to decrease abortion dramatically. Now, on a very specific level, we have a program called Advertise for Life, where we advertise to women considering abortion and then try to reach them between pregnancy and abortion and direct them to a pregnancy center. So on a micro level, that program, we can confirm 18 lives in 2020 have been saved through that program. Now, our advertising has over 600,000 impressions, so the numbers are probably a lot higher of saved, but we can point to, and we know for sure that those women were considering abortion and then chose life, just in this year alone.
Right.
So those are some of the numbers that we can look at. We'll all never know our impact, this side of eternity in a sense, but
I like how you put that.
Yeah, but we believe that we're doing what needs to be done. And look, even if we're not saving one life, this message has to get out there because it's true and our society needs it. But I know we're saving lives.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what I like, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, what I hear is that the Right to Life Federation hasn't, you think about abortion is legal right now. So you think that Right to Life Foundation or Federation has saved lives not by, and I'm using air quotes for a purpose of, but not that you haven't saved lives by taking away women's right to choose. You've saved lives by educating people. Because that sounds like the strongest thing that you all have right now is the way you educate people and show people other choices and help support women in the community through the education process. That's really one of the biggest ways that you've saved lives.
Yeah, we want to make sure that people are knowledgeable and feel that abortion is never an option that should be chosen because it's violent and it's not good for women. It's an injustice against that unborn child. But then we want to come along and provide everything that we can, understanding that women choose abortion because of powerful reasons in their life, right?
Right.
And the pro-life movement's got to be willing to meet and support them. Now, look, don't get me wrong. The fact that 22 babies, human beings, are killed at abortion facilities in Louisiana is wrong, and it's got to stop. We've talked about the other injustices in the history of our nation, and we all just kind of gloss over abortion at the same time. Over 56 million unborn children across America have been aborted since 1973. So
how many?
Over 56 million.
Wow.
Across the country. But yes, it's accurate that we're working to support women, to support families, to support children, but then also from the top down to make abortion something that our grandchildren and their grandchildren will study about in history books instead of dealing with it to try to make it a thing of the past.
And I'm re-emphasize this again because, of course, I like to make this point, is that you haven't saved lives by taking away someone's rights. You've saved lives by educating people on other choices.
Right.
And for the people that want to talk about rights, you've helped educate the process. You've helped educate people. Sure. And then what I like in the back is that you haven't just said, here's your choice. You've said, here's another choice, and we're going to help you. We're going to support you through the process, and we're going to be here after you choose life to help support you, and we're going to give you that education and give you where to go. Yeah. And I like that. How many federal dollars go to abortion?
Yeah. So a good question. So Planned Parenthood, the nation's largest abortion business, does receive taxpayer funding through fee-for-service Medicaid reimbursements. Now we have the Hyde Amendment that does prevent dollars to go directly to abortion, except in the cases of rape and incest. Federal dollars from 1994 to the present, because of President Clinton, does fund abortion in cases of rape and incest. So I don't have an exact number, but we do know that Planned Parenthood receives about $300 million through fee-for-service Medicaid reimbursements, and we believe that props up their abortion effort in society. But your abortion facilities that are not Planned Parenthood facilities, they're not receiving taxpayer dollars for abortion. So that was the Hyde Amendment that was put in place in 1976 by the great Congressman Henry Hyde, and that has been a key foundational firewall between taxpayer money and direct funding of abortion. Unfortunately, there's indirect funding I'm talking about with Planned Parenthood. But I tell you what, right now today, with an election coming up, the Hyde Amendment's an important thing because like wherever you stand on politics, the Democratic Party right now supports removing the Hyde Amendment and having a full funding of abortion. Full taxpayer funding of abortion. That is a very direct issue that's on the ballot in November in the presidential election and in Senate elections across the country, and that there's a very stark difference. And our polling data shows that in Louisiana, over 80% of the state doesn't support taxpayer funding of abortion. That even though only 63%, not only, but 63% of the state says they're pro-life, right?
Right.
But that means that a large portion of even pro-choice people oppose taxpayer funding of abortion.
Ah, look at that. That's 20% number.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. So it's a, Americans across the nation don't like taxpayer funding of abortion. And that should be a low-hanging fruit that we should all come to an agreement on. But right now in D.C., that's not the case.
Well, what I don't agree with is, this happens in many organizations, is that from what I understand, that when you donate, some of these people that are donating to these other organizations, they're also in turn taking that money, instead of using it in that facility, right, they're using it to fund other elected officials or political campaigns. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, certainly Planned Parenthood uses their money. Now, there are a lot of organizations that are well-meaning organizations that then take their money and give it to Planned Parenthood, right?
Right.
And one of the greatest examples, there's a lot of them, but, Susan G. Komen, right? The Breast Cancer Foundation, that's an example of an organization that annually gives money to Planned Parenthood. And so we encourage people to give your money to other breast cancer research organizations other than Susan G. Komen because of that. We need to, if abortion...
And that's nothing against the effort that they have to for breast cancer.
And that's why we want to tell...
That's simply because you want you as an organization are showing people where you all believe people should fund their money.
Well, right. I mean, we're all for people doing research on and activity on breast cancer.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there are many good options that people can support, right, other than Susan Komen. But the problem is that they support an organization that does over 300,000 abortions every year in America. And we need to draw a line in our society that injustice to unborn children and to human beings, which unborn children are human beings, we need to draw a line in the sand and say that, our dollars can't be going there, right? And that's why we need to advocate to bring an end to taxpayer funding of abortion.
Right. No, like I said, it's watching the money. Right. Follow the money. Where the money goes, some people support it, and some people.
And look, abortion is big business in America. It's really a cash business, and an abortion is probably $400 at a minimum of the cost. And if we talked about there's 8,144 abortions every year in Louisiana, multiply that by 400, and just for conservative sake, do it by 300, and look how many dollars are at stake in the Louisiana abortion business in the state.
Now, you would know this answer. People hear all the time about baby parts being sold, or babies being sold, aborted babies being sold, because, there's that cord blood, there's the
cord blood, the umbilical cord blood is different than the unborn child being sold. In fact, the umbilical cord is rich with stem cells.
Correct.
And those are ethically harvested stem cells.
Right.
As of course after birth, right?
But the stem cells in babies. Yeah, I'm glad you corrected me on that. I appreciate that. But how many? I guess is that real? Now, I'm asking you because you're in this business, that answer, and I want everybody else to be informed who has heard it.
Well,
how
for many,
popular is it? You said it's a big business.
Well, abortion's a big business.
Right.
The selling and the procuring of the abortion, right? Now, with the baby parts, and a few years ago when it was uncovered that Planned Parenthood and abortion facilities across the nation sell the parts of babies after they're aborted for scientific research, it is big business, and all those videos that came out expose that in society. And before that, it wasn't an urban myth, but we knew it was happening, but no one could ever kind of put the finger on it.
Right.
And so those videos that you may have seen really exposed what's happening in abortion facilities, that the woman is coming in, she's paying cash for the abortion, then that aborted child, that broken body of that child, then is sold off and used as the raw meat for scientific experiments. And that's wrong, right? We would, unless someone is given consent to science to use their body after they've died, that person's body shouldn't be used in that manner, right? It should be the person's consent. And that unborn child has no voice, right? And we should be, of course, we should be protecting the unborn child. And even if they're killed, we need to be respecting their remains, just like we respect other humans' remains.
Right. There's people who have, another point to make, I've always said is, when a woman takes a pregnancy test, the first thing she says is she's pregnant, she's going to have a baby, whether it's a month or 2 months. And then there's many women that unfortunately have children that die being a month old, or they may even have a miscarriage at 8 or 9 months, and they have a funeral service for that child. So that just shows that there are people that do believe, about the life.
And I think it's important that we remind people that a natural miscarriage is not an abortion.
Exactly.
In fact, we passed legislation 3 years ago that makes sure that hospitals provide women who suffer a miscarriage the opportunity to bury their child. Because in the past, the hospital would only treat that child as medical waste, which essentially means they incinerate the body.
Wow.
And so we passed a law to say, okay, hospital, you have to give that woman and that family the chance to take that child and bury it as anyone else would bury that child. So and we've seen the positive results of that in hospitals, across the state. So it's important for those who have suffered.
These are little things that you guys do. So it's not just what people think your organization does. These are the behind the scenes things that the Right to Life Federation does, with this legislation that requires hospitals to, let's just say, respect the remains of a child, by giving the woman her right back to make that decision what happens with the remains of her child.
That's right.
These are some of those things that I think our community doesn't know. Another statistic: who is affected most by abortion? What ethnicity? What is a socioeconomic group that's affected more? We know that women would be affected more, but also men can be affected in this too.
First, abortion affects everybody. I'll answer the question, but abortion, people of all socioeconomic classes have abortions. People of all races have abortions. Mm-hmm. So, and our data shows that. The state's abortion data shows that. In Louisiana, there is a disproportionate impact on abortion on the African American community. In Louisiana, 60% of all abortions are African American women having the abortions. So about 1 in 5 black babies in Louisiana dies from abortion.
1 in 5?
1 in 5, right.
So if that's 22 a day, now you're saying there's 4 black babies that...
Well, no, 60% of that 22 would be black babies.
Okay.
So 12, 13,
All
right? So yeah. So even
now, what's funny about this is I'm going to stop for a second. I have some listeners that will always come back and call me later, and they said, "Well, did you know that you re-questioned that that question?" So I'm glad again that you have all this good knowledge to be able to help out.
Oh yeah. So I mean, it's a tragedy, and so we have a part of our organization is our Louisiana Black Advocates for Life initiative that works in the African American community to educate on this, to increase services that are provided, especially in minority communities. I just rattling off a couple. We've seen great work happen in the 9th Ward with the Baptist Health Systems offering a lot of pregnancy-based services. Baton Rouge, we have a great minority-run pregnancy center there. Opelousas just started one, a historically majority-minority community. So, and even the Baton Rouge Pregnancy Center is offering not just pregnancy-related services, they're offering GED classes, everything else like that, to help the woman in that situation. So
other things that the Right to Life Federation helps facilitate in the communities.
That's right. So it really, we need to speak out that abortion targets African American people, and that started with Margaret Sanger, and she was the founder of Planned Parenthood, and someone who believed strongly in eugenics, which is basically what she believed was weeding out the unfit people in society. And we've raised our voice about Margaret Sanger for decades, and in New York there's a street that's Margaret Sanger Drive, right? And that's where Planned Parenthood's main office is in New York City.
Wow.
Even though she was a professed eugenicist and racist. Now, in the past few months, really it was a group of Planned Parenthood employees that actually rose up and said she should be disassociated with our organization. And thankfully they've done that, but that doesn't mean we believe the intention of Planned Parenthood is still behind that, to drive up the number of abortions. And if anyone's seen the movie Unplanned with Abby Johnson, her story, she spoke at the RNC convention just last week. But she talks about how when she worked for Planned Parenthood and ran a Planned Parenthood abortion facility, she was given a quota, a number of abortions they wanted her to do every month, just like a business would do a quota of sales, right? So she had a quota of how
Brings
many
in,
abortions.
like you said a minute ago, it brings in money.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah. So now men certainly should have a voice on abortion. Unfortunately, Supreme Court law says that men have no ability to approve or deny an abortion.
And when I ask that question, I'm not saying that men should have the final say over a woman's body. I'm saying it that way because there would be some people who think that that's what is meant by that. We're just saying that there are times when men would want to have an equal voice and maybe would want to have the parental rights and be able to say, okay, if you don't want this child, I'll be responsible for this child.
And those situations exist. The bigger problem is studies show that over 60% of women choosing abortion say that they're choosing abortion because a man in their life wanted her to do that. So we often think in pro-life movement, people talk about, well, the man doesn't have a voice if they want to have the child. Well, unfortunately, men need to step up because they're part of the problem in this situation.
Right.
They're the ones statistically that are not supporting the woman or telling her that she needs to have an abortion. And unfortunately, it's not just boyfriends or husbands, it's sometimes fathers and grandfathers that are encouraging the woman and sometimes encouraging them in not so friendly of a manner to have an abortion. So, men play a role in this, and that they need to be the ones stepping up to provide resources and help and support in the instance that when their girlfriend or significant other in their life is pregnant. Or
and does Right to Life Federation offer some support material in that situation?
We do. We definitely want to do programs that challenge men. A lot of the pregnancy centers on the local grassroots level will have programs for men, and that's often where that that work goes. So that when a woman comes into the pregnancy center for an ultrasound, they'll encourage them to bring the guy along,
right,
and then have a counseling session with them and try to motivate them to want to be that provider or father, to be present instead of leaving, right?
Right.
And of course, we know that fatherless households create all sorts of challenges in our nation beyond the question of abortion. But fatherhood begins in the womb. And it starts by taking that immediate responsibility.
So yet another aspect of the Right to Life Federation, when you look at how you're encouraging men to be involved and men to be responsible, and men not to, dictate to women what they want, instead empowering women and also educating men in the process. Yeah. It goes back to education. It goes back to how this organization is helping that.
And I think if men across the nation stood up and said to the woman in his life, I'm here for you, right, I think abortion would plummet.
And not only abortion, but look at how well that will do for families in America.
Absolutely.
And look how well that'll do for our society. It's been proven that the stronger the family is, the better society is. What about people who say that abortion is health care?
Yeah, well, we would say abortion is not health care, obviously. Never, if you look back at the original Hippocratic Oath, right? The message was that we're never going to intentionally take a life, right? Mm-hmm. Well, abortion intentionally takes a life, right? That's what abortion does, right? It's very purposeful to take a human life. So I would say right there, it's it's the opposite of what healthcare is supposed to make people healthy, right?
Right.
Abortion ends the life of a child, and we believe, and studies show, and the testimony of women shows, that it hurts the woman long term in her own life as well, from psychological and emotional concerns focused around something that's like a post-abortion syndrome.
So you're making it known that abortion hurts women in the long run. Might make them feel like they've had health care in the short term, but in the long term, right, it hurts their health care. And the Right to Life Federation also helps educate women on that process.
That's right.
What about ultrasound laws? We hear about ultrasound laws.
Important. Our pregnancy centers say that 90% of women who come in their facilities pregnant and see an ultrasound will choose life right off the bat. Now, that woman may still have a whole mountain of challenges in her life to provide for that child or family support and everything like that. But seeing that unborn child makes all the difference.
Yeah.
And that's just like each of us.
Seeing it move its hands and move, and
I mean, we all, so many of us, or our kids, they have their ultrasound photos, right? And they look at that, and that's what's changed in our society, is that window to the womb is opened. You know?
My mother saved my ultrasound photo, and it was still chiseled in stone.
Yeah.
It didn't have them when I was young.
Absolutely. So we have a law in Louisiana that says every woman has to have an ultrasound before an abortion. They need to be shown the ultrasound screen they choose to look or not. Mm-hmm. But that's such an important law, and we believe abortion facilities subvert the intention of that law. The abortion facility has no interest in showing the woman that image, right? I mean, it would be like McDonald's giving an advertisement to Burger King, while you're ordering, right? I mean, their goal is to sell that abortion. That's what they're doing. Remember, the abortion facilities in Louisiana don't offer any other services. They don't offer contraception. They don't offer any other type of family health care. They do abortion. That's it. If a woman comes in and that pregnancy test fails, she's out the door, right? So we have to remember that the abortion business is an industry, and they have no interest in showing that ultrasound, which is why state laws have to be passed to make sure that those women who feel like abortion is their last opportunity is able to see some truth in there and is able to see the image of her unborn child. If she still chooses abortion, well, you know what? The law right now, unfortunately, protects her right to do that. But at least she knows and is given the opportunity to see the truth of that unborn child. Many women, have a lot of stressors on their life when they're thinking about whether to have an abortion or not. And so just like so many of us, when we're stressed in our life, we might not always be thinking clearly. So we also have what's called the Woman's Right to Know information. That it's a pamphlet of information that a woman receives before she has an abortion.
But the Right to Life Federation takes and offers services and information for women who choose life. From that point on, how they can be supported and things that they can do.
Yeah, in that, the information they get at the abortion facility, it tells them about the father's right, it tells them about child support, it tells them about adoption, it tells them how they can get in touch with places that will help them. Because remember, if the woman's at the abortion facility and she chooses not to have an abortion, it's not like the abortion facility is going to help her.
Right, because they don't make money when she leaves the door.
Yeah, and they have no interest in providing systems to help women, which that's, to me, is one of the most frustrating things about what people think about this issue in society, right? They think that somehow the pro-choice side is the side that is helping women, but Planned Parenthood is providing the abortion and some other healthcare services. But if the woman's not going to have the abortion, is going to choose to parent or place the child for adoption, that's the pro-life side that's helping, not the pro-choice side. So the idea of choice doesn't really make sense. They're not offering multiple choices, They're offering abortion as the solution in their situation. And if the person's not going to choose abortion, then it's incumbent upon us and the other healthcare services in the state to provide resources to help that woman in the process.
So where Right to Life Foundation helps offer resources for women long term, the abortion clinic, once a woman goes in there for an abortion and has the abortion, there's not any resources for them after they make that choice.
No, they're supposed to come back for one visit or something, but I mean that abortion facility is not going to sit down with them and say, okay, there may be some emotional challenges after having an abortion. Let me talk to you about those, right? There's none of that. Right.
You mentioned earlier adoption.
Yeah.
One of my ideas has always been, why don't they have more adoption clinics?
Yeah. Adoption is so important, and the challenge today, I'll tell you, is increasing the demand for families and women to place their child for adoption. There are so many families right now that want and are signed up to receive a child. And there are adoption agencies in the state and the country. The challenge right now is there's not enough babies to support, in a sense, those things. So I want to do what you do and put and what you want to do and put more adoption facilities. But to do that, it's kind of what comes first, the chicken or the egg in this situation. We're going to have to increase the interest of adoption, and we got to talk about it. We got to educate people about it. Even things like the language about adoption. People often say, "Oh, did you give your child up for adoption?" How negative does that sound?
Correct.
We place children for adoption. We place them into loving homes. The mother never gives up on her child. Right? She is placing that child in a system and in a family who can provide for that child in a way that she knows at that moment that she's not able to do it. So we have to change the conception and the perceptions around adoption. In America, it's amazing. Studies show that there's a lot of Americans who believe that adoption is not a positive choice for a mother to make. Mm-hmm. We often think of adoption as, okay, everyone's on the same side, but people have got to promote and talk about adoption in our society because we have to change the perception and get more people to be interested in placing their child for adoption.
That's interesting. And I've always said that, people have always asked, well, how would more adoption clinics be funded? And I've always said, well, if we had the right team in place, you could have it publicly and privately funded.
Yeah.
Of course, it could be almost completely publicly funded because there's so many people that want babies. You could offer women those services through an adoption clinic where they go in, they get care through the pregnancy, and maybe even offer them through these services where they get counseling if they need counseling or feel they want counseling, and then maybe even job placement. Offer that whole through an adoption clinic.
That's right. Absolutely. And most of the adoption agencies in the state, we have at least one in every metropolitan area in the state, usually more. And they're doing all those things right now. So, and again, they have families waiting to adopt, and it's unfortunately we just don't have enough children right now because I think the statistic is for every adoption in America, there's 110 abortions that have been done.
Wow.
So it's so slanted. And Planned Parenthood, on their annual report, they'll say number of abortions, number of adoptions, and they said of adoption references, meaning they told the woman where to go to find someone who can help them. And the number is so insignificant.
You just brought out a statistic that I'd like to point out to everybody who's listening, in that the number of adoptions, or number of abortions, nationwide. And there are political parties that always say the reason we need immigration into our country is because we don't have enough people to support services in society, and we need people to pick our vegetables, and so that's the reasoning for having immigration. But if we simply promoted adoption more and didn't promote abortion as much, we would have a natural increase in our own population of people here in our country.
The greatest threat to the sustainability of Social Security is abortion. The long-term sustainability of the Social Security program is abortion because our demographics are decreasing. We're having less children than we used to in the past.
Okay.
And so there are less people of working age paying into the Social Security system. That's why we always have these controversies of people talking about the sustainability of Social Security in our nation, because the idea is that maybe when I get to be older, Social Security is not going to provide me the benefits I've been paying into, right? Because there's not going to be enough workers behind me paying in for me, right?
That's a great point.
So, but why is that the case? Well, when you're aborting almost 1 million people in America every year, that's a huge part of the labor force that's being eliminated.
That really is. So you said that's a great point to be made, is that, abortion isn't just about a right or a choice. Abortion affects all aspects of life in our country, not just our culture, not just our decisions, not just our laws, not our freedoms, not our liberties, but abortion hits in so many subjects. And like you pointed out, it even goes as far as to affect Social Security and retirement.
In Germany, they're paying people to have more kids. Like you get their demographic problems are so severe that now they're increasing the payment to families to have more children, right? At the same time, they're doing all these abortions. It's like counterintuitive if you're looking at it just from a numbers perspective.
If you just do what the Right to Life Federation does and educate people on the process and educate people through it, we might have more of a balance. It sounds like. So I want to ask a couple last questions real quick. How many people does Right to Life Federation employ?
Sure.
How many volunteers? And then I want you to talk about how people can help, which of course is just, I want to give contact information for everybody who's been listening.
Yeah. So we have 12 staff across the state, some part-time, some full-time. We have office in New Orleans and Lafayette, official physical places. And then we have team in New Orleans, Lafayette, and Alexandria and Shreveport. And our work spans from doing work on college campuses to doing work at the Capitol. Right now, we have the number of volunteers really can't be quantified.
Right.
I mean, we have people, and we see this as a team effort across the state. The Pregnancy Center in Monroe, it may not be our legal organization,
right,
but we're allies with them.
They're affiliates.
That's right, and they have so many people on the ground helping them every day to do their services. I mean, just in Lake Charles right now, we have 2 great pregnancy centers that, thankfully their facilities are in good shape in Lake Charles after Hurricane Laura. But they're reaching out now, and we're working with them on some relief efforts in Lake Charles to offer formula and baby supplies and water, because of course you need water to mix with formula. Correct. To provide to a baby. So we want to make sure that's being provided as well. So, but yeah, that's our team across the state. We have a whole bunch of volunteers all over the state that are working to advance the pro-life cause. And how people can be involved, I encourage you to give us a call. Right. Our office number 1-866-463-LIFE. If you even these days, not many people,
right.
We say 5433-LIFE, but call us. Our website.
This is our number.
That's right. ProLifeLouisiana.org is our website, and then so we're all over social media. You can just search Louisiana Right to Life on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, wherever you are, and connect with us that way. There's so much to be done. And whatever your interest is, I'm sure there'll be a way. If you call, we're going to encourage you to connect with your local pregnancy center too. And find them and get connected and see what their needs are as well for the cause. So there's so many ways for people to get involved. And like I said earlier, everyone has a role. You just got to find that role and take action.
Yeah, even if it's saving the Social Security system.
That's right.
Any other final thoughts?
I know we're going to talk about the constitutional amendment on another one, but our constitutional
amendment. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Let's mention that real quick. We'll look for the next video that we're going to be doing.
Yeah, so we have our constitutional amendment coming up November 3rd. It's on the ballot, the Love Life Amendment. Encourage everyone to get involved. Vote yes on Amendment 1 on the ballot, and go to lovelifevoteyes.com to learn more about that. So that's a big priority. We need the state to vote yes, and it doesn't matter whether you're a Republican, Democrat, wherever you are on the issue. It's a simple concept to make sure that there's no right to abortion in the state's constitution. So encourage everyone to vote yes on 1 and give us a call.
And stay tuned we'll do another video doing that. And if you've liked this video, enjoyed this video and the information, please share it with a friend, share it with the public. Again, look into the Right to Life Federation. It sounds to me like they're trying to get information out in all areas and just inform people and be involved in the community in positive ways that help women. And I want to thank you very much for the time that you spent with us. Thank you, Benjamin.
Thanks,
appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Everybody else, have a great day.